First off, I want to apologize to Desi. I promised her that as a part of us coming back on here, I wouldn't come on here, I guess she said, looking crazy with my hair and stuff like that, since she seems to really care about appearances. So I'm going to take the last video down. But this was a video about a DID diagnosis. A DID diagnosis is hard to come by. It's rare. It takes years of consistently working with the same doctor over and over and over until they recognize a pattern. If you've been with your therapist for less than 2 years, there is no accurate way for her to, or him, to measure the changes. DID presents itself in memory loss. It presents itself in age regression. It presents itself in so many different ways. A lot of the ways it presents itself is the same way that PTS or complex PTSD does. That being said, I just wanted to say that I get it. I'm young. People are young. We go through stuff. But kids and adults, my trauma started at 8 months. That means by 8 months, I had a phallus inside of my body. And from that point on, it kind of went downhill here until recently. I'm not discounting your stories or your trauma, but I'd like to know what makes an 18-year-old split, what makes a 13-year-old split, what makes a 24-year-old split. You know why? Because the splits don't happen immediately. In the beginning, they are imaginary friends. In the beginning, you think your imaginary friend is talking to you, and after a while, you develop quite a few imaginary friends. Then those imaginary friends take on a life of their own. DID, in my opinion, could be severely hampered or even, cured if children who've been sexually abused or any type of horrific abuse at a young age receive the proper counseling. My PTSD didn't have to turn into DID. And essentially, that's what happened. I was unheard. I was, people's thoughts, everything in the world about me, and I look at them and like, how could you think those things about me? I'm nothing like you think. I'm nothing like you think. In the before time, I was the life of the party. In the before time, I was here it goes, don't worry about it. This isn't the before time, this is the now time. If you identify as having DID, it's not the same as having a identification with genders or anything like that. It's not a game. DID is dangerous, unpredictable, and not easily diagnosed. So before you open up and say, yo, I have DID, spend a long time talking to your therapist. There are so many disorders that mimic DID. Bipolar does, manic depression does. There are other dissociative, bipolar, borderline personality. There's a lot of different disorders that could actually mimic DID because of the emotional swings. But DID is his own monster. And I don't want to know why anybody wants to claim a monster that doesn't belong to them to make them sound more interesting. You know what's more interesting about me? Everything but my DID. The trips, the glamour, the fun that I had. Even in the midst of all this, I remember the boys. I remember the excitement. I remember the absolute freedom and joy of riding in my red Acura with the windows down, having the music blasting with CeeLo in the wind. And I was happy, even if I wasn't mentally well. I say, yo.